Welcome to episode number 145 of the Chris Rose Rotation, a production of John Boy Media and presented to you by our friends over at SeatGeek. And I would like to welcome in a guy I have known for the better part of a decade, but haven't reached out to him in a while. Where you been, Chris Archer of the Minnesota Twins?
I think you have my old number. Ryan Stromsburg didn't give you my new number, so we're going to blame him. We're going to blame him.
That away. One of the best dudes around, Ryan Stromsburg, by the way, for people that don't know. Buddy of both of ours, father of four, awesome kids, amazing wife, Sam, and he's Aaron Boone's best friend from their college days. So there's a good little baseball. You knew that. Did you know that part?
Yeah. He's told me that they go way, way back. Him and Gabe Kapler, actually, too.
Good call. He's also like, I really got to know him from our time as Little League coaching dads. And so he's like, he looks like the top of the wedding cake. He's like that chiseled and handsome and stuff. And he's in his 40s, but he looks great. So whenever he would be walking across a field like 100 feet away, I'd be like, hey, what's up, hot dad? How you doing? And he'd always get embarrassed.
He's the hot dad. He's always super well dressed, too.
Always. Not like this slob right here. But the question is, does Ryan Stromsburg have one of these?
He does not.
This is the Chris Archer Stormtrooper bobblehead night. Do you still have one of these?
Oh, yeah. I got my garage is full of bobbleheads at my parents' house back in North Carolina.
This thing is awesome, by the way.
Yeah, they got one with Longo and KK. I'm a Stormtrooper, but Longo, he was Luke Skywalker. So, I mean, it's cool, but I'm not Luke,
Well, nobody's Luke. I mean, you had to go Longo for Luke. I mean,
I know.
Although Kiermaier, with the way he looks, he probably went up to the marketing department and bitched about it.
KK's so cool, man. He really doesn't try to like flex his looks on anybody. He's actually really, really humble about it. I mean, he knows, everyone knows, but he's really humble about it.
Yeah. We'll touch, obviously, on your Tampa days and your amazing journey. We got a month to go in the baseball season. I'm always curious when you're on a contender, because fans, we do it all the time. All we do is check the other team's scores, who we're competing against and stuff. Like, you're in Chicago this weekend, so you don't have to check on the White Sox because they're right in front of you. But are you peeking on what Cleveland and Seattle are doing this weekend?
I'm definitely peeking at your Indians for sure.
Guardians.
I'm sorry. I'm definitely peeking at what your Guardians are doing just because that's our goal. Our goal is to win the division. And we know as long as we play our baseball, we're going to be able to fully control our destiny. In about a week or two from now, when we do get to face off with them like 10 times, I think it's 8 times within 2 weeks. So we're obviously we got to focus on the task at hand. The White Sox are right in front of us. We just coming off 2 great series against 2 pretty good teams. But we know the White Sox are the task at hand. They're right in front of us. But yeah, we know that the Orioles did well against the Guardians. We know that. Mm-hmm. We know that they went to Seattle and didn't do too well either. So we're keeping an eye on them for sure.
Okay. Good. I'm happy to hear that you guys are like the rest of the human population, and you worry about what are we drinking today. By the way, what's our cappuccino?
That's just a little espresso, just to get me going a little. I had breakfast and finish. I don't like coffee before breakfast because it suppresses my appetite, so I like to do coffee after breakfast.
Okay, so you've already we're up early taping this in baseball parlance, if you will. Like this is a 10:30. Wake up call. Some dudes, they're sleeping to like noon and stuff. You're a go-getter, huh?
Yeah, so I think there's 2 types of people in baseball. There's people who like to get up early and kind of have their routine early, or there's people who like to have a post-game routine. And that doesn't mean like hitting the clubs or anything, but some people might grab dinner or spend time with their friends and family after the game. I like to spend 2 or 3 hours pre-game with my people so I can get in bed like at a reasonable hour, maybe around midnight, between midnight and 1 a.m., get 8 to 10 hours of sleep, wake up between 9 and 10 a.m. and get my day started.
Are you different because you're such a good dude and fun and smart and funny and all that stuff. Are you a different dude on the day you pitch or no?
Mm. You'd have to ask probably like Joe, but I try to be the exact same every single day. So I wake up and eat breakfast at the same time on game day. Um, 2 hours before is when I really, really start to lock in. That's when the headphones get put in, and I just kind of slowly ease into my routine. But like prior to that 2 hours, I try to be the exact same because I've learned if I'm super dialed in from noon until game time, my energy's gone. I'm zapped. By the time it's actually time to start to pitch, I got no mental energy left. So for me, I like to keep it as normal as possible until as close as possible to game time.
It's funny because so I've had the good fortune of I've got two sons that are 21 and 16, but they've obviously been around the game their entire lives. And we've had a lot of clubhouses that have been super sweet to our family, invited us in before the game and all sorts of stuff. You can talk to position players all the time. But I remember telling them one time we were in Cleveland's clubhouse and I was like, Derek Lowe is the starting pitcher. And I said, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to say hi to Derek Lowe. He's the starting pitcher. We'll just kind of let him be. We're in the clubhouse and Lowe's like, Rose, you're not going to come over and introduce me to your family? I'm like, aren't you starting? He's like, dude, I'm too old to give a shit about that stuff. I love it when starting pitchers are just like that, dude.
Yeah, hey, so I think one good thing about the minor leagues is you get to kind of test out what works for you. And like D'Lo said, he's been doing it long enough. He knows what works, what's a waste of energy, what doesn't work. So look, there's some guys like I remember when Trevor Williams he plays with the Mets now. When he was starting at like 1 in the afternoon, this man had noise canceling headphones on, listening to his rock music, and you didn't really make eye contact with him. And that was his thing. And he shoved. So everybody has their different thing. And that's one of the beauties of the minor leagues. I know the minor leagues get a lot of people are realizing how tough it is. And like publicly, they don't really like it. But there are some really beautiful things about it. You really get to learn who you are as a player, as a pitcher, what your daily routine needs to be like prior to getting to the big leagues and having to test that out.
Chris, you really kind of exploded on the scene with Tampa Bay 9 years ago. Awesome slider, couple all-star teams. You get traded to Pittsburgh. By your own admission, things didn't work out great there. You wanted to do better. Didn't happen. You ended up having surgery. Was there a time where you thought, shit, I'm not going to get back to this?
Yeah, that definitely crossed my mind at one point. And more than any time, it was towards the end of last season, whenever my body just wasn't bouncing back, and I didn't have much endurance in the game. I didn't have much stamina, and yeah, Kevin Cash and I had a long talk in his office one day, and for me, the conversation was more motivating than anything. I saw it more as like a healthy challenge. And this past off season, I invested all my time, energy, and resources into putting together a healthy 2022 season because typically I have, like you said, I have good stuff. So when I'm on the mound and I feel healthy, I typically get good results. So I worked with this trainer this offseason, this physical therapist. Her name's Nikki Huffman. And every day for 4 or 5 months, we were just in there trying to find ways to get better. And the lockout happened. So everything kind of went quiet. No teams were calling, no teams were asking questions. And as soon as the lockout lifted, I had video, I had TrackMan data, I had Rapsodo data, I had firsthand accounts from other free agents that I was facing in my live batting practices, and my body finally felt like it was at a good place. I was able to send that information out to teams, and here we are, September 1st, and I've made 23 starts, and I'm really really happy about that.
That's great. What did Cash tell you that motivated you and made?
So Cash has a way of being very blunt and honest. He doesn't know how to sugarcoat anything. I think that's what makes him a good manager whenever it comes to working with players. And I I'd rather just keep that between he and I, but it really did help motivate and fuel me. And I still think about some of the conversations we had then. And I kind of tap into that on game days or whenever the season gets a little monotonous and you're like, damn, like, do I really want to go, do I really want to go run these poles, or do I really want to do this lift today? Or, I'm supposed to throw long toss, but my arm's kind of sore, so maybe I should keep it short. I tap into those things that we talked about, and it's definitely been a motivator this year.
Well, because he's so blunt, sometimes we don't like to, whether you're an athlete, a podcast host, I don't care if you've had some degree of success. Occasionally you don't like hearing what you need to hear, if that makes sense. Were there ever times where you and Cash got into it?
uh, in a healthy way, yeah. So that's the other good thing about Cash. He can express himself with me, be blunt with me, and I can be very direct with him, and he doesn't hold a grudge. So as soon as you leave that conversation, that office, it's just you keep it moving, keep it pushing, and it's one of those things that when I was 24, there's no way I could have, I wouldn't have seen these conversations as healthy. But last year, age 32, 33, I understood why Cash has to make some of the moves he has to make and how he views things and his opinion, and I can express that, and then we can just move forward. But there was times back in the day where I would obviously in a respectful way as possible ask him why we did certain things, and he would tell me, and then that's it. It's like it's not up for debate. It's in the past. This is how he viewed a situation, and then we just keep it moving.
Okay. Today's episode of the Chris Rose Rotation presented to you by our friends over at SeatGeek. It is the #1 place to buy all the tickets for the favorite sporting events or concerts. Whatever you want to go to, go download the SeatGeek app on this handy little phone today and start the process. So we've got a month left in the baseball season. College football is underway. The NFL gets started later this week. You've got hockey in the near future. NBA is not that far away. And, of course, you can go to a concert anytime you want. So here's what you do. After downloading the SeatGeek app, they're going to help you find the best ticket. In fact, they rate every seat on a scale of 0 to 10 to make sure you are getting the best deal possible. It's also color-coded. So green, thumbs up, right? Like a green thumb, like when you're gardening. That's a good seat. Red thumb, malo, bad. Don't get that. You might end up sitting next to me. So don't do that. And if you do this today, you download the SeatGeek app and use the code word ROSE, you're going to get $20 off your first order at SeatGeek. So I want to put you in the best seat possible, and I want to save you money on that seat. It's very simple. Once again, go download the SeatGeek app, rate all the seats for you. You're going to save $20 with the code ROSE. And you're going to enjoy the games or your concert in style. Now you're in a Twins situation, which I don't know if there's a lot of rotations where all 5 guys have been traded at some point in their career. But that's the case with you guys. Do you guys talk about that as a group? Like you're a little bit of the misfits, if you will? Like some point somebody didn't want you, or you could look at it as like at some point somebody else wanted you.
Yeah, we all know and understand that it's a business at the end of the day. So we've never really looked at it as somebody didn't want us. It was just the right time to move us. They got offered the right assets, and from a financial standpoint, the assets outweighed the financial element on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we haven't spoken directly about that, but that may be why we connect so well and so easily. Because it's not our first time with a new organization. Like in spring training, it was like magic. We all just bonded together. I got there the last week of spring. It was Bundy's first spring training there. Sonny got the spring training late. Joe Ryan has made like 3 starts in the big leagues prior to this year. So yeah, like I guess that's one of the reasons why we gelled so quickly, is because we were used to that unfamiliarity.
Who's the most interesting dude in the rotation?
We all kind of have our quirks. Sonny Sonny's an interesting guy. He's one of those ones you're careful to make eye contact with on start day. You're careful about it. You're careful about it. But Bundy is a sleeper. Like he has such amazing dry humor. He has like he's been around a long time too. He came up in 2012 as well. So he has all these kind of like old school sayings that kind of penetrate the locker room, and we all kind of say these things now that were said back in 2012. People, Joe Ryan, obviously he's a weird breed. Like he's a weird cat. He's from NorCal. Those guys are strange. But Bundy still wears those like baggy bell bottom pants, and we're always giving him hell about it. And he's like, "Hell, man, I've been doing this forever. I'm gonna keep doing it like I'm doing it." He's just one of those type of guys. That's like fascinating to me. Like guys who like, man, I'm just gonna do my thing, and I'm gonna pick up that white ball and throw it over that white plate, and hopefully get a good outcome. Like I just love dudes like that, you know.
Uh, does Joe Ryan? Do you guys give him shit for looking like Billy from Stranger Things or not? Because the resemblance is incredibly uncanny.
Um, Nobody really does, but I know that that's a thing. But nobody really does because I haven't watched Stranger Things since
Oh,
season 1.
oh.
Hey, it kind of faded. It kind of faded on me. I'll be honest. I couldn't do it. Like for me personally, just my personal opinion, 12, 11 and 12-year olds like bickering over like this like supernatural thing. Like I could do it for 10 episodes. I gave it 10 hours of my life. I couldn't keep doing it, but I know it's a great show and everybody loves it. It's just not for me.
Okay, so what are we into right now? You got to be. I know you're a big reader, but you got to be streaming something.
Yeah, we're always streaming something. I went with a classic. You might like this just for like 20 minutes, just to kind of kill time at the end of the day. Arliss on HBO.
Great one.
Yeah, yeah. Just and he has a lot of baseball players in it from back in the
Totally.
day. Like
Well,
so,
yeah. Robert Wool was in obviously one of the most famous baseball movies ever. He was the pitching coach in Bull Durham.
that's right. That's right. That's right. Yeah.
So
So I love just kind of old stuff like that. Um, I recently just started watching True Blood again,
mm, okay,
season 1 of True Blood. But there's a couple newer shows that I watch as well.
okay. Um, you want to have some fun? I don't know. Hopefully, you'll be able to see this. I want to take you back to your first big league start.
Mm-hmm.
Look at
Mm-hmm.
little Chrissy Archer out there. You got like it's like the jerseys. I think they gave you like a double XL accidentally.
Hey, I'm telling you, this is what Bundy was saying. Back then, we wore our uniform like super big. But yeah, that was maybe even a little too oversized.
Yeah. So you made it in Washington, had a solid start. I think you gave him 5, gave up 3 runs, looked in command. But man, the baby face is hilarious. Not like
Hold
you
on.
look like a grizzled
Rose,
old man.
Rose, hold up. Rose. I went 6
6.
and I gave up 1 earned.
I know.
3 total, 1 earned. So I just want to clarify. I remember that day. Like I remember that day. It was a special day.
Um, what do you remember most about it?
I remember getting there, and they talk about the difference in AAA and the big leagues is that third deck. So like there's that. So I get to Washington. The stadium is beautiful and kind of new at that point because it was
Mhm.
2012. I remember getting there and like just really like looking up and being like, damn, like that's what they talking about with the third deck. Um, but then just all my friends and family being there and seeing them in the stands, seeing how happy they were. Jose Molina was my catcher, which was amazing to throw to a Molina brother. after the first inning, we had a little chat because he could tell I was nervous as shit. Um, and David Price was always my biggest cheerleader. I remember that. And then I had to play National League. It was a National League. It was an interleague game, so I had to hit, and I was facing Steven Strasburg in 2012. Like 2012, Steven Strasburg. Like, yes, 2019, 2018, Steven Strasburg was nasty. 2012, Steven Strasburg was something we had never seen before. Like, we had never seen 90-mile-per-hour changeups before. We had never seen a starter running it up to 100. Like, I mean, maybe we have, but it's way more common now in 2022 than it was in the early 2010s, you know? So, yeah, those are the things that I remember the most. And I put Steve Spurgeon in twice. Like, I closed my eyes and swung, and somehow I made contact. But those are the things I remember.
Welcome to the show, kid. Holy smokes. Can I tell you my Jose Molina story?
Yeah, let me hear it.
All right. So 2013, Cleveland is facing Tampa in the one-game playoff, right?
Yep.
You guys are in Cleveland. All year long on Intentional Talk, my little skit was, do you think I am faster than one of the Molinas? At least one of the Molinas. And Millar's like, I don't know. Maybe you can get Jose. I was like, yeah, I think so. So apparently, you know, everybody watched Intentional Talk back in the day in the clubhouse. So he probably caught wind of that. I am hanging out on the field during batting practice before the play-in game. And he comes up. I'd never met him. I stick my hand out to shake his hand, and he goes, so you fucking think you're faster than me? Straight faces me. Straight faces me. He's like, I will fucking kick your ass. And I was like, he walks away, and I am nervous the entire day. Shaking. I can't even enjoy watching the game, nothing. Because I'm like, this guy is going to kill me. He is going to literally kill me. So after the game, the next day, I see Giambi. We're leaving from the airport. You guys won 4-0. And I see Giambi, and I said, Jason, didn't you play with Jose Molina? He's like, yeah, awesome dude. I said, like, is he funny or what? He's like, yeah, he's hilarious, jokester. And I'm still thinking to myself, like, fucking, he wanted to kill me. Price writes me a DM. He's like, Jose got you. He was fucking with you, and he was hoping you were going to come in the clubhouse afterwards so he could yell, got him, at you.
Oh, shit.
I was so nervous the whole time. I seriously thought Molina wanted to kill me.
That's great, bro. That's so great. Yeah, Jose was awesome. Hey, 2013, did y'all not have anyone else to start other than Danny Salazar? Danny Salazar was great, but putting a rookie in the first game of the wild card, I was a little confused about that.
So Justin Masterson was the ace that year, but he got hurt late, and I don't think he had enough innings. Like, Kluber wasn't Kluber at that point. They made it. Oh, Ubaldo had to start on Sunday to close the season. Ubaldo had an amazing, second half of the year. Was like one of the best pitchers in baseball, but they burned him up in Minnesota, I think, to close out the season or something, so they wouldn't have to play that play-in game. You guys had to play in Texas the day before, and Price threw a shutty, right?
Yeah, he threw a complete game. I think he gave up one, but he threw a complete game.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a wild ride for all of us to get there.
Yeah. That sucked for me. Don't worry about it. All right, let's talk a little bit about your family. You grew up in North Carolina, biracial family, adopted legally by your maternal grandmother and her husband. And then about a decade ago, you decided you wanted to meet your biological father, right?
Yes.
And that went okay?
Yeah, hey, it was one of those situations, and it's crazy to think that it was 10 years ago. Because that's another encounter that I remember like it was yesterday. It was crazy because it was more like I wouldn't say that I wanted to meet him, but I found out that like our proximity, we were really close in proximity. And he, you know how life works. Like, he had a friend that was a mutual friend of my mentor. And my mentor just came to me one time and was like, hey, like, you might want to ask your biological mother if this person is your dad, because at your biological father, because at the time I didn't know who he was, I didn't know where he was, I never really talked about him at all. So my mentor was like, hey, if you're curious, ask your biological mother if this is who your biological father is, and at that point, if you want to meet him, we could probably make that happen. So I went through all that, and it was true, and we met up, and you asked how it went. I think it went well. Just if you if you just think about your own life, and for 23 years up to that point, 23 years, you didn't know what your biological father looked like just from a physical standpoint. You don't need to know his personal traits, none of that. But just like from a physical attribute standpoint, you've never looked them in the eyes or see the shape of their face or how tall they are or whatever. That was the most intriguing thing to me, because I was like, I was raised by my grandparents on my mom's side who's white. So I had never met anybody in my family who was black. So for me, it was like, all right, I can get straight to the source. And it was, we went to Outback Steakhouse in like close to my hometown, and it was a good conversation. And basically how we ended it was, look, like, I don't need a father because I have a great one. I don't need a mentor because I have an amazing one of those. I don't need a best friend. I don't even need like a fan that I stay in touch with every now and then. I don't need any of that because I have all the love and support. If there's anything I ever feel like I need from you, I'll reach out. And that was the end. That was the last time we spoke intentionally. We had another encounter randomly, like a year or two later, but I never reached out because I got exactly what I needed to from him in that moment, just by hearing his story and seeing him, what he physically looked like.
Are you glad you did it?
Yeah, yeah, because at the time it was one of those situations I didn't know how much I needed it until I actually did it. Because prior to maybe 2 or 3 weeks prior to that moment, I never even really thought about meeting my biological father. I never even thought it was a possibility. I didn't realize he lived like 20 minutes away my entire life. So um so I was super, super nervous. But after the fact, I was like, I'm glad I did that, because I answered a lot of questions in my own head. And I think it's just normal questions that any kid would have if they had never seen their biological father in person, not even a picture or nothing.
What was the number one question you needed answered?
I didn't really need a question answered.
Hmm.
It was more like, what do you look like? Like,
That's
do
it.
you look athletic? How tall are you? Like, how dark is your skin? Like, what shape are your eyes? Like, what does your nose look like? Do you have a sharp, just those types of things. Um, More from a physical standpoint,
Got it.
because any any male or paternal or fatherly attribute, like from a personal standpoint, I already had answered from other great men in my life, particularly my dad who raised me. So I didn't really need anything answered. I didn't need to know how to be, like a man, or like challenges that I might face, like in the work environment. Like, like I didn't need to know like any of that, because I already had tons of people to answer those questions for me.
By the way, does he look? Do you look like him?
Not really. Not really. Nah, I didn't think so. But
Yeah.
regardless, it was still cool to just see.
Yeah. I'm curious about baseball. It's very conservative, man. It's just you walk into a clubhouse and that's just the nature of it. Um, At least that's the way I find it. I haven't lived in a clubhouse, but I've been in enough of them. Is it challenging, or how challenging is it being a biracial guy in baseball?
It's honestly, it's not like it was in 2006 whenever I first got drafted by Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
And over the years, the game has become very, very diverse. And I think although there's still a lot of conservative minds, they're more open-minded than they were 10 or 15 years ago. They really are. And I think a lot of that might have to do with the Latin influence because, I mean, our team, we have like 3 or 4 guys who are going to play for Team Puerto Rico in the World Baseball Classic just on our team alone. We have guys who are from the Dominican. We have everything. Venezuelan guys. We have 4 or 5 black dudes on the team now. So it's the numbers like might not look overwhelmingly great, but it is a lot more cultured and a lot more welcoming and understanding of other races than it was 10 to 15 years ago, without a doubt.
Was it like I always ask guys when they start out in pro ball, just minor leagues, almost 80 or 90% of them say at some point they wanted to quit. And they were like, I'm out. I can only imagine feeling uncomfortable in 2006 made it that much more challenging. Was it?
It's hard to say if it was more challenging because that's what I knew. Mm-hmm. And fortunately, I made some really good friends then. And, growing up, I always saw like being biracial as more of an advantage than a disadvantage because I always felt like I could connect with anyone, and not just from a black or white sense, but I remember the Guardians used to have a program called a cultural development trip where they sent like 3 or 4 of their prospects down to the DR to like play in Dominican Instructional League. And we would like go to their facility down there and take cold showers because there wasn't any hot water at the facility. And we'd eat like their native foods. And look, like in 2006, like I wasn't very cultured from that standpoint. So like going down there, it opened my eyes, but it was easy for me to do that because like I always felt like I could just kind of blend in with everyone. Even though I looked a little different, I always felt like I could blend in with anyone. So going down there, like these are the things that I'm talking about, that organizations are way more cultured than they used to be, because that's a typical program. It doesn't get talked about a lot, and they haven't done it the last like 2 or 3 years because of COVID and all the travel restrictions and stuff. But almost every organization has a program like that where they go down to Dominican, have some of their prospects go down there just to get an understanding. So when they come back, they can say, hey, like, yes, like they listen to different music and they enjoy different things, but they're no different than us. They have one dream. They want to get to the big leagues and win baseball games.
Yeah. I love that idea. I didn't even know about the program, and I've spent an awful long time around the sport. I love it. It's also why I love the World Baseball Classic. Like, I love guys jumping over the railing. I love guys just swagging to the nth degree. I am a huge fan of it. And some people are like, well, it's great during the World Baseball Classic, but I don't want to see it during the season. Fuck that. I want to see it during the season. I want you to be you. Like, when you came up, you were fiery, dude. You would walk off the mound and pump your fist and all that sort of. Did anybody ever tell you, like, it's okay to be excited? Like, if that's game 3 of the playoffs, chill.
There's no. So the reason I was like that is because I was encouraged to be me as much as possible. James Shields, David Price, J.P. Howell, Joe Peralta, they knew my energy on the field, and they're like, do not suppress that. And I know, like, Tyler Glasnow has talked about that a lot with himself. Like, and I think I heard Mike Clevenger talk about it at one point too. Like, if you suppress who you are, like as a human, as a person, you're not going to get the most out of yourself as a performer. So they were telling me this back in 2012 and 13. And yeah, like if I don't act like that, like if I don't be myself, Byron Buxton gets pissed. He's like, bro, you you ain't showing no emotion. Are you okay? Is everything all right? So yeah, so now if I don't express myself, people are like, yo, like, what are you doing out there? So I obviously there are people who still have their opinions, but it's a different game, and it's very exciting when guys um respectfully express themselves. So yeah, I'm gonna keep doing me because it's got me this far, and I hope nobody suppresses themselves just to conform in the future.
I don't want it. I love seeing it. By the way, if it's not you, don't do that. If
Mm-hmm.
it is you, do it.
Like Corey Kluber. If Corey Kluber was out there, doing somersaults and backpedaling, and like we would be questioning like, whoa, what's going on with this cat? But yeah, so I'm the complete opposite of Kluber.
Is he funny or not?
I haven't met him, or I haven't had enough time around him to know, but I heard he's a prankster. I
Okay.
heard like
That's
he's
what
a
I heard too.
jokester nonstop. But when he gets in between them lines, it's like
Yeah,
that's when he's a clue bot.
You used to compete a lot against Carlos Correa. And I'm curious, when you guys joined forces in Minnesota, did you have to have a conversation with him? Like, really, dude, that's what happened in Houston. I was trying to get you out. And I was curious, seriously, because some guys have said, if I ever became teammates with one of those guys, I'd have to have a personal conversation. Did you?
Yeah. Yeah. We had a combo, and we have conversations about it because things come up all the time with sign stealing. And, I mean, the whole reason we wear the pitch comm is because of that whole situation. And it, I don't want to overshare, but I will anyways. It was one of those situations where like we were in the showers one day, completely vulnerable, and we were able to just express like, hey, like, can you tell me like what was going on, like why, what made you think y'all had to do that? Like, obviously it was frowned upon, and then he told me like his version of the story. So it was one of those situations where like the shower was probably the best place because we're both like naked. Like we're both coming at this like completely vulnerable. And after we had that talk, it's like, all right, it's go time. Like we have goals now. That's in the past. You know, there were repercussions, there were ramifications, and not even like there wasn't suspension, but the way that he gets treated on the road, like outside the hotel, or if we're leaving a stadium, people are saying stuff. In like Dodger Stadium, it was loud. It was loud boos. So they didn't get suspended or anything, but they're living it like daily. Anytime they go to a stadium that has good baseball fans, they're hearing about it. And yeah, so we talked about it. We put it behind us. And we're just moving forward as a team now.
It's interesting that you had to have that conversation. By the way, I'm all for the booing and all that sort of stuff. Like, I think I don't like the shit where I think it was I don't want to say what stadium it was because I forgot. They threw a trash can on the field. I'm not about throwing stuff at
That's
people.
too much. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not I don't know if you ever saw the video with Alex Bregman. I think it was at Fenway where a kid was like, "Hey, Alex Bregman, can you come over here?" And then he said, "Oh, I would never want your autograph or whatever." Like, I don't think we need to do that. To me, that's like sophomoric. But you want to boo? Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
I'm all for it. You've made a couple all-star teams. What do you remember most about the game? You didn't pitch in 2017, I believe. You pitched 2015 in Cincinnati. What was the best part of that experience?
So it's like the same as my debut. You know how they line us all up on the line.
Yeah.
And they're going down. I'm standing next to Felix Hernandez. I'm standing next to David Price. I'm standing next to guys, and they pan the screen over to me, and I know exactly where my family is, and I just see the excitement on their face in the stands. And so, like, for me, making my family proud, my family and friends proud is like one of my biggest motivators. So that's what I always think about is like my mom's face, my dad's face, my mentor's face, my best friend's face, everybody who was there for me growing up along the way. They're there in the stands. I get announced as an all-star. That was one of my goals since I was like 9 years old. Um, so seeing how happy they were. And then the other thing I remember is seeing Jacob deGrom strike out 3 guys. I thought I did decent in the game. He comes in the next half inning and strikes out 3. I'm like, this deGrom dude is legit, because that was before we all knew like who and what Jacob deGrom was capable of. And it's crazy to think he's gotten better and better and better ever since he turned 30. He's gotten better every single year from an output standpoint and the numbers. But yeah, that's the other thing I remember, seeing him strike out the side and being like, that was some real shit right there.
It was, because that was really the time when he popped on the national scene.
Mm-hmm.
Let's remember, like, Matt Harvey was the dude in that rotation, and deGrom was like, yeah, he's good. But that day, I think he struck out 3 guys on 10 pitches, and all of them were like a bazillion miles an hour. But it's interesting because this past week, Mookie Betts said he might be the best pitcher ever. Now, we can get into the whole longevity thing and missing too much time, whatever. But in terms of guys you have seen throw a baseball talent-wise, is he the best one you've seen?
It's tough because I have a little bit of recency bias because we have Duran on our team, the guy who throws 103 with the 100-mile-per-hour split. Obviously, one's a reliever and one's a starter. But look, I'll say this: the stuff that's coming out of guys' hands now is just incredible. And when you see somebody throwing a 95-mile-per-hour slider, like and dotting 100 miles an hour, it's one thing to be able to throw 100, but it's another to be able to dot 100 and then throw a nasty slider off of that. I mean, deGrom's up there. Like, Mookie Betts has physically seen a lot more pitchers than I have, standing in the box. So I'm gonna trust him on it. But just in general, what's coming out of like Clase, the closer for the Guardians, like this guy's throwing like 96-mile-per-hour cutters and 100-mile-per-hour fastballs, and it's just unbelievable to see what's coming out of guys' hands now.
With that being said, and I think I gave this to my last guest, Josh Rojas of the Diamondbacks, you could have Judge's power or Ohtani's skill set.
You got to take the skill set. Because that's not to diminish Aaron Judge's power or his ability. What he's doing this year is unbelievable. 51 homers through the first 5 months of the season. Unbelievable. But Ohtani can run fast as hell. He can throw 100. He's got his own power also. He can hit for average as well. It's just Ohtani's something like we're probably never going to see something like that to that level ever again in our life.
Never. I think that in 40 years, all you guys that are playing right now will be telling your grandkids, like, I played with that dude.
Yeah, I struck that guy out. They're going to be like, no, you didn't. I'm going to be like, yes, kid, I did. Believe it.
Have you faced him in the box?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I faced Ohtani a couple times. Definitely one of those guys you have to try to make sure nobody else is on base when he's at the plate because he's got some serious thump.
Yeah, it's amazing. I always tell people that TV doesn't do it justice in terms of A, how big he is, and B, the speed factor. He is so damn fast out there.
Yeah, he's huge. He's like, his body is like perfect as far as like seeing it in uniform and how it moves and how he just the fact that he throws righty and hits lefty, he can constantly like be balanced as far as that goes. 6'4", 220, 230. lean but not too lean, fast as hell. He's like how you would draw up a player that not like a 6'8" mammoth beast like Judge, like a more reasonable, it's like, okay, that's what a baseball player is supposed to look like. Judge, he's a different animal out there when it comes to physicality.
I hope you play another 5-10 years. I don't care however long you want to play. I want you to play. What do you want to do afterward?
A lot of people ask me that. I do want to be involved in baseball to some capacity. I don't know if I want to be a coach and continue all that travel and that kind of fast lifestyle. I don't know. Um, but there's guys in the Twins organization and the Rays organization and Pirates organization that I've been able to like help through like just little things that I've learned. Like there's a guy in AAA, he's our number one pitching prospect, and he wanted to, make his slider better. We had a couple phone conversations, a couple text message exchanges. He was sending me video of his new slider, and he's like, dude, I just got promoted because they said they wanted to see my slider sharpen up for 2 outings. I worked on some of the things. It's all on him. He did the work, but he's like, I worked on some of the things you told me to work on, couple drills, different mentality when I'm throwing the pitch, and now I'm moving up. And like that made me equally as happy as like winning a game in the big leagues. So helping the youth to some capacity with baseball, I'm gonna have to do that because it's so fulfilling to me.
That's all. I love that. I love hearing that. That's a great story. I think you could be the architect of a team.
Like a GM. That See, there's a lot of responsibility there, but putting a team together would be really fun. I wouldn't mind being a part of a team. Maybe not the mastermind, but I wouldn't mind being a part of a crew and like someone really valuing my advice because I feel like I've learned a lot in the game. I've had some amazing moments and I've had some not so amazing moments and everywhere in between. So I think I would add value to an organization.
Heck yeah, you would. Because, everybody criticizes the game because it's become too Ivy League and too statistically driven. And I think in some cases it has been. I think it would be such a help. If I ran an organization, I would make sure that I had a former major league player helping construct my roster because you need to understand the guys who provide the heartbeat of a team. That we still haven't provided a numerical value on chemistry. Can't. We can punch everything else into a computer. You can't measure that. Can't measure when a guy's an asshole. Can't measure when a guy's coolest dude and can bring worlds together. That's important.
Yeah, and that's like, so I don't want to take up too much of your time, but that's one thing that I've seen with Correa. He does a really good job of bringing the Latin culture and the American culture together, but also the pitching group and the position player group together. And you're right, it really can't be quantified. So Correa is kind of an obvious one, but there are players like that all throughout the game. And it's like you said, it's really, really hard to quantify, but it's a huge difference maker.
It's funny because you do bring up Correa, and we'll wrap up here quickly, but I would love the conversation so much. I could talk to you all day. Was there ever a guy that you looked at on the other side of the field and were like, douche, and then you were teammates with him, you're like, guy is freaking awesome? Because I hear those stories all the time.
Yeah, like I didn't know what Correa was gonna be like, but I like him because he's authentic. Because you can see some of the stuff that he says and does and be like, is this dude real or is he just trying to like play a game, Like is he just trying to act like he's a good guy and all this stuff, act like he's a good teammate, but he really is authentic and he really does care and he really is passionate. So I wouldn't necessarily say like I viewed him as a douche or anything, but I definitely viewed him as like, is he authentic? And then whenever he became our teammate, and after a few conversations like we had in the showers, um, yeah, I'm like, yeah, this dude's authentic. He's real. He's somebody I want behind me all the time. I'm taking his advice. I'm asking him what he sees, and I know it's going to be real feedback. It's not just going to be something off the cuff. It's going to be something well thought out.
I don't think I do great in the shower conversation.
I don't know. It's a great place to be vulnerable. I can say that.
It is, but it's gotten so bad now, and I'm so old that my wife makes me take showers in my bathing suit. So
stop. Okay. I don't believe that.
Yeah, actually, it's bad. More of the show still to go, but a quick reminder, you can catch myself and Trevor Plouffe, the former Minnesota Twin, on Baseball Today live on the AMP app every Monday through Friday, 11:30 a.m. Eastern. You get to ask us questions, talk to us. So download the AMP app on your iPhone. Use the code word Baseball Today to tune in. We'll see you then. All right, we're going to spin the wheel of moderately interesting things, which has a handful of questions here. We'll pick one, and we'll get you answered, and we'll get you back to your half-cat decaf mocha latte with a twist.
Okay.
Giving mood. Well, this could be good for you. What was the last nice gift you gave to somebody? Birthday, holiday.
So I have like a different outlook on like gifts and stuff.
Okay.
I try not to wait. I definitely acknowledge birthdays and holidays and stuff, but I try not to wait because you may never get there. Like Christmas isn't guaranteed. My birthday's in 24 days. That's not guaranteed. But the last gift, I'd have to say, I gave my girlfriend a nice bracelet yesterday, just cause. Yeah, I had my man Gary at Tivol in Kansas City make a little custom bracelet, and she's going to grad school soon over in Cambridge, and I just was thinking, hey, it's special. You got in. You're going over there soon. Let me do something for you, kind of randomly, just to show how much I appreciate how hard you've worked to get where you're at.
What's she studying?
It's like their version of a political science master's degree. It's a 9-month program, and she wants to get into like international women's policy. She's smart. She is also talking about being a lawyer too. So I'm like, hey, babe, do you
Great.
Go for it.
Wish her luck. She's going to enjoy it. That's a great place to go to school.
It is.
Been around a little while too.
It has.
Yeah, one of those little up and coming universities overseas.
Right.
Well, wish her luck. That's a very, very nice gift as well. That's great. And before we get out of here, I just want you to know you share a birthday with my youngest son. So you'll always be near and dear to my heart for no other reason than that.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me, man. Thank you.
Dude, it's great catching up. I love it. We'll
next time I'm in Encino, I'll come through. I'll come by the house.
Absolutely. Please do. Please do. I wish you a degree of luck the rest of the season. It's very hard for me because I always like guys around the league, but you understand who I'm rooting for. I hope
hey, okay, listen, I always tell people, wish me health, don't wish me luck. So you don't have to wish me luck. Just wish me health and we're good.
I wish you health, my friend.
Thank you,
great catching up with you. Tell all the guys in the clubhouse there I say hello. And best of luck to your girlfriend overseas. I think that's really cool that she'll be creating policy in the near future.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Special shout out to our producer extraordinaire, the mustached Rob Scirocco. For Chris Archer of the Minnesota Twins, I'm Chris Rose. We'll see you next time on the Chris Rose Rotation, a production of John Boy Media.